Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Horror Lives Here podcast. This is Aaron, and boy, is this an exciting episode. Sitting here to my right on your screen is Mr. Ken Sagoes Kincaid from Nightmare on Elm Streets 3 and 4. Thank you for joining us, sir. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, but first, thank you for inviting me. I really am excited to be here, glad to be here, and I can't say anything else, but I'm blessed.
So are we. I promise you. So to get started, let's just maybe tell folks a little bit. Like, I found out recently that you're actually from the South. Like, a lot of people watching this are going to be from Arkansas, where I'm from. So you're actually from the South too.
Yes, I'm actually from the South. I was born in Stockbridge, Georgia, and I grew up in Atlanta. And my roots come from the Southern tradition, the Southern eating. I love to fish. I love to go walking in the woods. I love the four seasons, which I don't get out here in California. I like watching nature, and I just like living life.
Yeah, people that don't live in the South, I don't think fully understand us. Like you and I and the other people probably watching this, we're kind of a different breed down here.
Yeah.
So when did you move out to LA?
I came out to LA back and forth in the late 70s, early 80s. And I never ever say that I'm from Los Angeles. I say that I'm a transplant to Los Angeles. But I love my Southern roots, and I embrace them and I appreciate them. So I go back and forth often. So I'm all over the place.
When did you first get into acting? Was it something you did as a kid?
My mom said I got into acting the minute I was born and popped out of her. So I don't know. I can go back to some of the days when I was like real young and we didn't have any electricity. And I used to stand in front of the fireplace and tell jokes and do things. And I remember my sister one time saying, my nickname is Scooter. I remember her saying, let Scooter sit up there and crack us some jokes. And I didn't know what it meant at the time. But I think I've been acting and writing since before I knew I was acting and writing. So I don't know. I can't give a time. I can say my professional time was when I did this thing called Sid and Marty Croft. I don't know, HR Pup and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You too young to remember that. I can tell by the expression on your face. uh, and and I was on stage when I was like real little doing the pantomiming, what they called it then. They call it lip singing now, but we was doing things like the Temptations, Stevie Wonder, and Four Tops, and all those, pretending that we was them.
Awesome. So I know anybody that's going to tune in for this is going to tune in for a couple of specific films, which we will get to. But I kind of want to talk a little about other stuff first because I'm sure the majority of our interview will be about that. But real quick, right here at the beginning, because it's really important. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about your short film and the things you're doing now before we go back in time a little bit, just to get it out there and let people know what's going on. You have a short film that you just finished filming, and you're looking to do post-production work on it.
I'm on post-production of a short film called The Secret Weapon, Yesterday is Today. And it's about these children in 1963 who gave the power back to the civil rights movement. And most people don't know that. And they went head to head with this here really, really iconic man of racism, which was Mr. Bull Connor. Look him up, Bull Connor. And this is a real story. And I always say that he was the first, one of the first Freddy Kruegers. What he did to those children was unbelievable. He locked them up in hog pens and everything. Some as young as 5 years old, and he was the shaft, so to speak, in Birmingham at the time. So this is inspired by a true story, and it's a story that I think that needs to be seen. What happened to these kids was shown all over the world. The world was watching them. England, Spain, Russia, everybody was watching America. And these children fought back. And so Bull Connor was one of the first Freddy Krueger. So I want to do this story. I've shot the film, but now I'm in post-production and I'm trying to raise $8,000 to finish my short film. I am more than halfway finished, and I have an angel supporter. So anyone who donate, they will match up to $2,500, which will give me my goal. So if you are listening, and if you could just go and give me $1, $5, it gets me closer to my goal. And if you can't, send me your blessings. That would get me closer to my goal. And also, I am excited because yesterday, June the 4th, my nonprofit organization, we selected 10 scholarship recipients. So I'm going to pay for 10 kids' books when they go off to college this year.
Wow.
And so this year, I started this in 1997. I'm a 501c3. And this year, collectively, I will be putting 670 kids through college.
Holy wow.
So
yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's
Every
go
film,
ahead.
Every film that I've done, everything that I've written, I made sure that I pay for somebody's kid books when they go to school. And every year I try to send kids to summer camp. I have a goal that I want to send 50 kids to summer camp. And next year I want to send a kid to summer camp from every state in the union. So that's my high. So that's what I enjoy doing.
That's amazing, man. Thank you for all that you're doing, because who knows? I mean, we have a lot of kids around here as well, and it's really sad to see kids that aren't able to do whatever, aren't able to go to school, aren't able to do what they want to do. And most of the time, it's not even the parents' fault. It's we're living in a hard financial time right now in the whole country.
A very hard time now. And, and I thank God, and I'm the way I am because people gave back to me. And the reason that I know you say this is a new podcast, and the reason that I wanted to come on is because everybody was fresh and new at one point. Everybody. So the payback that we give is passing on to the next new and fresh person. So if this is a new podcast, I'm honored to be a part of the seed and help it cultivate. So that's why I say thank you for inviting me to be here. So it's not that you are grateful that I'm here. I'm grateful that you allowed me to be a part of your new beginning. And I really believe that.
That means everything to me. Just the odds of or chances of sounding like I'm kissing up or something. I really appreciate that. Like I said before, I told you before, not on here, but not to make you sound old or anything, but I grew up watching you. Like your character was in the Nightmare movies, and we'll just go ahead for a second and jump into those. Were they were inspirational to me. Like I know that you said you were the first African American to make it through a major horror film. I've heard you say that in other interviews before. But even for this little white Caucasian kid from Arkansas, Kincaid meant a lot to me. Like he was he was one of my favorite. He was like a hero in part 3 because I was terrified of Freddy, as I'm sure most kids, most people were at first. And then when Kincaid stood up and said, what was your that famous line of "Let's kick this motherfucker's ass all over Dreamland." I mean,
Yeah.
I love that line. That's one of my favorite lines of any of the movies.
Yeah. What Kincaid represented to me. I'm a black guy that was playing a role, but what was embodied in Kincaid was not race. It wasn't race, and I think that's why everybody could relate to it, because Kincaid represented strength. He represented that he would not go down without a fight. He represented that he had hope. He represented that he believed in himself. He represented that if nothing else fails, he was not going to go down a wimp. And that has nothing to do with race. And
Right.
I think that's what it meant. That's why Kincaid was loved so much. Now, as a man of color, it invited a whole new group in to say we could do this, and he represented something. I mean, I still get mail and messages all over the world, and I did not know who knew that in 1987 that I was going to do a project that was going to be so popular today for a new generation to come and want to be a part of it. So I am grateful. So keep it going, my brother. Keep it going.
35 years, the 35th anniversary this year of Nightmare Before.
35 years. You just told me how old I am. 35 years. 35 years. Wow. I'm a grandfather now.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah. Wow.
I'm a father, so I was probably when the movie came out, I was 3. I saw it first time when I was probably about 10. But Nightmare 4, which we'll get to, I actually and I always tell this story, like if I have especially having a chance to see somebody that's in the movie. Nightmare 4 was my first theater experience, and I was like 5.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
My parents like my dad loved the Freddy movies, and part 3 was his favorite at that point. But he was they were going to go see it, and they were going to leave me with my grandmother. And I can still remember this day, this whole story, begging them to take me with them.
Where's your dad now?
He's still around. He lives. I live in a little town about 2 hours from him.
And he's still like the Nightmare movies?
He does, although after I think he liked 3 and 4, then after that he kind of quit watching them. Like me personally, I love every single one of them, but he kind of quit watching them after 4.
But he still remember it, right?
Oh, he remembers it. Yeah, he remembers taking me.
So if I call him up and tell him I want to thank him, he would remember. Huh?
He would, yeah, he would remember who you are. In fact, I told him yesterday that I was interviewing you today, and he thought I was lying. So
you did? What's his number?
His number is 501
501
519
519
2924.
2924. What's his name?
Ray.
Ray?
Ray, yeah, Ray. Ray.
Let's call Mr. Ray up right now.
There's no guarantee he will answer, but we could try.
Why? Why you want?
Because he usually doesn't answer numbers he doesn't recognize.
Okay. we can call him up and see. You hear the phone ringing?
I do.
Hey, we tried, didn't we?
Yeah, I knew he would do that. I'm gonna call him after the show, and I'm gonna tell him to watch my. I'm gonna send this to him.
Is not available. At the tone, please record your message. When you have finished recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Hello, Mr. Ray. How are you? This is Ken Sagoes. I played the role of Kincaid in A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 and 4. And I was talking with your son, Aaron, and he was telling me how much you appreciated my role and appreciated the Nightmare on Elm Street series. And I want to personally call you while I was on the air and say thank you. So I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for taking your son to see me in the movies. And we're having a wonderful time. All right. Thank you. I would say a few things on this here, but one of my lines, but I do appreciate you and thank you, sir. Fucking A.
All right. Oh my God. He's gonna go nuts over that. Thank you. That was really cool.
Yeah. It's about fun. It's about fun. Having fun.
I'm gonna get a text message from him before we even go off the air, I bet, saying, You can believe what just happened? Or something like that.
If he sends you a text message, we'll call him back.
All right. Okay. All right. So, Nightmare 3. How did you get involved in Nightmare 3? Like, what was did your agent tell you? Did you just hear about it? How that happened?
The story. I didn't want to go to it because the role that in the breakdowns when they were describing the role, it did not fit me. So, and I had to go to court that day of the audition. So I had an attitude. It was raining. I lost the court case. And by the time I got to the audition, I was pissed off because I wanted to get home. So to make a long story short, over and over again, when I got in there to see the casting director, I had attitude, and they thought I was acting. So, I clearly showed I didn't want to be there. And by the time I got home, my agent was pissed at me because I kind of cussed the casting, not the casting director out, but the director out through the character. And by the time I got home, the agent called me. I said, David, I told you I didn't want to go. And he said, they loved you. So that's how I got it.
Yeah. What was like, so you get this role, I've heard you say in other interviews you hadn't seen the other two movies yet. So you probably didn't have any idea like how big the movie kind of was at that point, did you?
I didn't, man. I didn't know anything about this movie. I had not heard of A Nightmare on Elm Street. And I didn't watch it. I don't remember watching it even after I got the movie. You know, I read the script. And so when I went in to shoot the film, I went in it blind just to play the character. And Chuck Russell, the director, who was brilliantly worked it out so that we had a couple of parties before we shot the film. So all of us who was playing the kids, the Dream Warriors, we had an investment in ourselves. So I had grown to care for Rodney. I had grown to care for Patricia Arquette. I had grown to care for Jennifer Rubin and Penelope and Ira, all of them, you know, Brad. We were somewhat friends. And so because of that, when we got to the set, it was not just us coming as actors. We was friends acting together. And I think that showed in some of the acting when the camera said action. One of the first things that we shot together was the scene in the we was all sitting around in the circle. That was one of the first scenes that we shot all together. So there was an investment in us trying to take care of each other. We were a fist. We were to be reckoned with then. And I think that helped. That really helped. That was the first day that I saw Heather Langenkamp. When she walked in that day, that was my first time seeing her in person. So the look was real.
What about there was some pretty good, I mean, well, not good. There's some great actors in this movie. Lawrence Fishburne, Heather Langenkamp, Robert Englund, yourself. I'm a big fan of Bradley Gregg. I really like Rodney Eastman as well. So just like, was there any way of you guys like just kind of giving yourself, like helping each other out with information or knowledge about acting, or was you all pretty well like in the moment?
Um, uh, as far as acting, we all had our, we were just there having a good time. But I have to say, and I always say, that it was Lawrence Fishburne who taught me about physical acting because I was getting exhausted, when they was taking me out and going crazy. I didn't know how to physically act. And he took me to the side and told me how to do it. He said, you don't have to work this hard. And to this day, I haven't seen him in quite some time, in years, but I do give him credit for that, for talking to me. And that's been the wonderful thing about my journey in this here entertainment jungle, is that I've had some people that gone before me in experience, not so much in age, but in experience, that has passed their knowledge down to me. And I did not take it with a fist. I took it with an open hand and kept the knowledge as a baton. So, and Lawrence Fishburne was one of those.
It was crazy. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Robert Englund was one of those. Heather Langenkamp was one of those. I've been blessed throughout my years with many, many people. So I am a product of people before me passing a baton for me to pass on to people, and that's why I like to continue to give back, because it makes me feel good. It's an energy to me.
Now, I've heard stories like in the Never Sleep Again documentary that it was part 3 was a very hard shoot. Like it was physical. It was fun, but it was very physical, and there was a lot of stuff to do. And there was even a story of, I believe you told, about Heather Langenkamp kind of going to Chuck Russell and telling him to kind of tone it back some because he's really laying it on you guys. But so while it was, I'm sure, a hard physical shoot, was there any like pranks being? Who's a big prankster on set?
I don't know. I don't know. I can tell you this here. There was one time, when we was doing that scene with all of us together, there was one day I was supposed to go to a screening, and they had promised that they would get me out in time to go to that screening. And so by the time I was to go, they said we had to shoot 2 more times, and I just knew. I said, "Oh God, I'm not going to make it." And then I realized that it was a big joke. They was making it seem like that. So they had someone waiting for me to go to the screening, and I did make the screening. But I don't really remember any jokes that was played on anyone. At that time, I was one of those actors who did his scene and then went back to his dressing room and tried to prepare for something. Because I was a writer, I was a young writer, and I was trying to write other projects. I had learned from conversations from other people that when you got this project, work on something else. So I was working on something that I could maybe write for myself. I was learning something that Flip Wilson once said is don't learn the show. Don't learn just the show. Learn show business. So I was trying to learn the business of where I was. I wanted to be in a place where I wasn't always looking for Hollywood to put me in something, but to get to a place where I put myself in something and Hollywood will come to me.
That's wow, what a great answer. And that was a question I didn't even have written down or anything. It's just something that popped in my head that I've heard that people say that some sets are super serious, some sets are a little more laid back. But I've also heard that Chuck Russell runs a really tight ship. Like he lets you have a little bit of fun, but it's also really serious and down to business, which I'm guessing with a low budget movie like Nightmare, you kind of had to do that because you didn't really have time to waste on anything else.
That is true. He it was his ship, and he had the right to sail his ship as he see fit. And I know when I was in his company and I was being directed by him, he said exactly what he wanted for you to give. But he also gave you the opportunity, at least with me, to take chances in places that he felt it needed to. Like originally, Kincaid was written for a white actor, so the words were very much what a white person would say. And so
Right.
when I said that a black actor wouldn't say this, he gave me the leeway to say what a black actor would say. Example, let's go keep this motherfucker all over Dreamland. He let me ad lib that. That was not in the script like that. But at the same time, being a writer, I did my due diligence not to overstep the writer's words because that's his paintbrush. And I don't ever want to come in and paint over his campus. And so
Right.
Chuck Russell allowed that. He gave me he gave us the chance to be a team to do that for me. I don't know what it was for the rest of the cast.
Right.
Because I wasn't there. I just know what he allowed Kincaid to be.
What about Rennie Harlan? Like you got a chance to work with Rennie Harlan, who I admit to being a huge fan of. I like just about all of his movies. And Nightmare 4 is my all-time favorite of the franchise, even though I don't think Kincaid should have died in the first 10 minutes. But, well, other than
I agree. I think that if I was writing the script in part 4, I'd probably still be in it. But that's an artist's choice. That's an actor's choice. That's a creative choice, and those were the choices that was made. And as an artist, I have to live up to those choices, and that's called business. I must respect the other person's business. As long as it's not doing anything that would take away my integrity as a human being that I could live with. And so that's what was happening. Now, as far as Rennie as a director, it's like when you was in school, you'll take a history class from this teacher who taught it differently, and you'll take a history class from that teacher who taught it differently. But you still left that class learning history. And that's the way I see it. There was 2 different directors who had 2 brilliant ideas, and I could skate on both of them. And if you skate and you dance on both of them, hey, you're really a smooth dancer. So that's what they taught me. No complaints, problems.
Speaking of dancing, you had while I wish Kincaid hadn't have died, you did have an amazingly cool death scene. Like I love the junkyard of cars, getting to push the car on top of Freddy. So once again, Kincaid doesn't go down without a fight. And when you pushed it down, you had this really funny dance that you did, like celebration dance. And is that something you just came up with, or was that like actually written down that Kincaid dances?
It was in the moment. It was in the moment. It wasn't in the script. It was in the moment. And sometimes I believe, as I'm getting into a director myself, sometimes you have to let the character infiltrate the actor or possess the actor, and he'll tell you where to go. And I think that's what it was. I was so in tune to the creation of Kincaid that Kincaid did it. And I think that's one of the things that made it beautiful.
It was awesome. I mean, even again, I was little, but I got scared when Freddy's clocking out of the ground. But when Kincaid pushed the car on top of Freddy, I remember thinking the movie was over. It's like Kincaid killed him. That's it. It's over. Because nobody can survive a car landing on top of their head, right?
What you mean? Come on. Freddy Krueger came from a dog's dick pissing fire. What the hell is a car going to do?
Well, again, I was 5 or 6, so I mean, I wasn't, exactly old enough to think about it in that terms. But yeah, that's true.
What it had been at that time, it was about 9 minutes in the movie.
Yeah. But no, it was still a really cool. Like I wish Kincaid hadn't died, but at least you got to go down fighting. Like you didn't run. And when Freddy had you, like, yeah, there was a little bit of fear because I mean, he's got you in his sights, but you still said, you still had that great line of, I'll see you in hell. So it's not like you were saying, please don't kill me.
Yeah, I was told, and I say this because I was, nobody by the hierarchies told me this. I was told this that came within the production executives. That they was talking about Kincaid coming back, and there was going to be a major fight between Freddy and Kincaid. That's why I said, I see you in hell. I don't know if that was true or not, but it seems like it could have been true.
Definitely.
There was also a script where all the Dream Warriors came back, and it was called, I forgot what it was called, but it was a part 6, and we all came back and fought Freddy. I actually read that script, but it never made it before the camera.
Which would have been so much better than what they actually did for part 6. I mean, I'm the first to admit, of all the Freddy movies, I love every one except part 6. I'll even watch the remake over part 6, but that's just me. There was some good stuff. There was some good stuff in it, but yeah. So we kind of went over a few of your lines. That was one of the things. 2 things I loved about the character. 1, he was just a badass, and 2, he had some of the coolest lines of the franchise. Like every time Kincaid opened his mouth, he had something awesome to say. What was some of your favorite lines you got to say?
Oh yeah, that's my dick is killing me. Fuck you. You sit down. In part 4, it was not again, Kristen. Freddy's back. That's my favorite line. Freddy's back. I see you in hell. There's a lot of good lines. There was many good lines. Oh yeah, lifestyle of the rich and psychotic.
That's what I was about to bring up. That was my favorite Kincaid line right there. Is that one?
Lifestyle of the rich and psychotic. And I think one of the reasons that Kincaid was so popular is because Freddy Krueger had a way with words too. And so Kincaid could match his creativity with words. And so not only was he strong, he could match him with words as well.
I think we should bring Kincaid back and just have a 90-minute movie where 45 minutes of it is just Freddie and Kincaid spewing one-liners at each other. And then the next 45 minutes, that could be a physical fight.
You can't bring Kincaid back, man. What are you going to be in a wheelchair? Come on, kick your ass, Freddy Krueger.
Oh, come on. I think Kincaid's strong enough. He can stand up out of that wheelchair and fling the wheelchair at Freddie.
I can see Freddy Krueger just turning him around and just pushing him away over the cliff or something.
Probably, yeah. That's probably how it would end.
You know?
This has been, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're a busy man and everything, but this has been awesome to have you on. I appreciate you coming on. And maybe one day down the road, I'll bring you back on again, if you don't mind.
That's a promise, right?
Yes, absolutely. I would love to have you back on again.
I'll come back and you let your father know that I called him.
I will do that.
Tell your wife I said hello. And to all the horror fans, I don't know if you would see this before my GoFundMe go down. I truly would appreciate the support and the support that you could give me. It means a lot to me. I'm doing a wonderful project that you're going to be proud of. And also, let me add this here is that because I've gotten so much love from the horror community, I am making the horror community in the short film, it would actually say associate producer, horror community.
Wow, and that's awesome.
It's something that has not been done before, and I appreciate it. Yeah. So I thank you.
Thank you, sir, and thank everybody who watches this. And go support it. Share it on your page. I'll put a link on the Facebook post. I'll put a link down below so that you can share it. And if you can't donate, if you can donate. If you can't, just share it. Maybe other people can. Thank you once again, Mr. Sagoes, for your time, and I hope you have a great day, man.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Bye-bye. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Ken Sagoes. That was amazing. Thank you for joining me, and I will see you next time on the Horror Lives Here podcast.